the prison guard drove several criminals into a tunnel, with Gus leading the way. Soon, they arrived at a fork in the road. While discussing which way to go, a blood suddenly dropped from the sky. Gus quickly took down the bloods, but suddenly, another one jumped out. An angel killed it with a strike. He suggested that everyone should quickly escape back. Just as he finished speaking, a bloods pounced on him and stung his neck with a stinger. Gus once again dealt with the bloods, and the others started to flee. Shortly after, a group of bloods surrounded Gus and Angel. Seeing the situation, the two could only retreat. Only Gus and Angel managed to escape from this clearance operation. On the other side, during an interview, Justine was asked about the forcible conscription of prisoners. Justine looked confused, clearly unaware of this matter. Shortly after, Justine went to the scene and found the police chief, but she was shocked to find out they had really done such a thing behind her back. This made Justine very angry, but after some thought, they did indeed need manpower to eliminate the bloods, so Justine reluctantly accepted this matter. Eichhorst gathered several bloods and prepared to launch a fierce counterattack against humans. These people were either police officers or Justine's assistants, making it easier for them to infiltrate the government building. Eichhorst made a police officer lie on an operating table, then used a surgical knife to cut open his abdomen. He then inserted a timed bomb into his belly. F had been drowning his sorrows at home. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, and when he opened it, he was surprised to see Dutch. On the other side, the bloods with the bomb implanted infiltrated the government building. One is standing upstairs, while the other went to the most crowded area downstairs. Just then, Vasiliy noticed something unusual, but it was already too late. Countless staff members were invaded by the worms. Thankfully, Vasiliy managed to take off his coat in time to avoid the disaster. Vasiliy helped Justine, who also quickly took off her coat. However, a worm crawled out of her forehead. In just a few seconds, the worm burrowed into her eye. Fortunately, Vasiliy pulled out a UV light and successfully killed the worm, but this still didn't guarantee that everything would be fine. F and Dutch quickly received the message and rushed over. Then, F examined Justine and thankfully killed the bloodworm before they had a chance to reproduce. Justine let out a sigh of relief upon hearing this. The attack was highly organized, and they weren't the only targets. Staten Island and several safe zones were also attacked by bomb-carrying bloods. The death toll had already exceeded 100. After finishing their tasks, F and Dutch prepared to go home, but just as they got in the car, a blood suddenly appeared at the door. F used a stun gun to knock it down to the ground. As F pulled out his gun, the blood started speaking.
Good weather, you failed. You want to ask me about your son, good weather, but you're afraid of the answer.
Where is he?
He is with me, always with me.
Is he turned? Answer me. Answer me!
Kelly was preparing to give her son a pet, but as soon as Zach saw the pet, he got scared. It's bloods bred feelers that are several times more powerful than normal bloods. Zach had witnessed feelers killing people, so he quickly refused his mother's kind offer. Kelly told Zach not to worry. From now on, it will be your loyal servant, and she asked Zach to give it a command. Zach, who had been bored being confined underground all day, accepted the pet that Kelly gave him. On the other side, F and Dutch were playing chess in the darkness. They were doing this to attract the attention of the bloods. Soon, there was movement from the bushes behind Dutch. Two bloods quickly emerged on F's side as well. Then, Dutch shot and killed one with a gun, and F killed another with a silver sword. One bloods remained and attacked the two of them. F used a stun baton to knock it down, and they captured alive bloods. They did this for research purposes. Soon, they brought the small bloods back to the laboratory, and F immediately dissected it. F found that even if only the brain and spinal cord remained, they would still react. He placed fresh blood near its mouth, and the stinger suddenly showed a desire to feed in the next second. From this, it could be concluded that they were controlled by parasites. All other organs had completely decayed. If a normal person's body deteriorated to this degree, it would be difficult for the heart to keep beating. F cut open the brain of the bloods to explain to Dutch. This mass of worms is what controls the body and also has communication abilities. That's why the blood ancestor can know anything through other bloods. At this moment, Dutch was ready to eat something, but when Dutch opened the microwave, the mass of nematodes began to wriggle violently. F was extremely surprised to see this, and then signaled Dutch to turn off the microwave for a moment. After Dutch closed it, the nematodes of worms returned to normal. Through repeated experiments, F discovered that microwaves can interfere with the nematode signals. On the other side, Vasiliy was trying to locate the nest of the Bloods again. He found a Bloods eating by the roadside. Then Vasiliy walked down with a signal device. When the Bloods noticed, Vasiliy rushed forward and placed a signal tag on its neck. Just then, another Bloods emerged from the side and attacked Vasiliy, but Vasiliy managed to knock it down. Immediately after, he placed a signal tag on the neck of this Bloods as well. By this time, Vasiliy had already gotten back into his car, leaving the two Bloods helpless and roaring. On the other side, Dutch built a microwave sensor. Meanwhile, F captured a Bloods and locked it in a cage. He first placed a basin of fresh blood on the ground and then stuffed an iron rod and a key into the iron cage. They wanted to test the intelligence of the Bloods. F untied the Bloods and it directly picked up the key next to it upon seeing the fresh blood. This left F and Dutch dumbfounded. As the Bloods was about to open the iron door, Dutch immediately activated the microwave sensor. In the next second, the Bloods became expressionless. Just as F and Dutch were celebrating their victory, the Bloods suddenly picked up the key that had fallen to the ground and attempted to open the door again. This caught F and Dutch off guard. In no time, the Bloods actually managed to open the door. With such a well-behaved probe, Zach is slowly accepting it and inviting it into his bed to play. On the other side, a group of Bloods emerged from underground in the safe zone last night and attacked civilians. Justine was puzzled by this, as she had dispatched a large number of police forces to clear out the Bloods in the underground tunnels. To find out the reason, Justine sent Vasiliy out. He installed trackers on several Bloods, and his mission was to locate the Bloods' nest. Following the signals, Vasiliy arrived at a record store and indeed found traces inside. The deep and seemingly endless tunnel was dug by the Bloods. Vasiliy went in without hesitation. The narrow passage was barely passable for an adult, but fortunately, Vasiliy quickly emerged from the hole. Outside, Vasiliy discovered that it was an unfinished tunnel. Vasiliy proceeded deeper into the tunnel. Eventually, he encountered two workers ahead who turned out to be Bloods. They immediately engaged in a fight upon meeting. Just as Vasiliy shot one of them with a handgun, the other one took the opportunity to attack and knock Vasiliy down. Luckily, Vasiliy managed to grab his gun in time and successfully killed the Bloods. Afterward, Vasiliy reached a very deep underground tunnel. He secured the safety rope and slid down. After passing through a corridor, Vasiliy found the Bloods' nest. Despite being mentally prepared, the scene in front of Vasiliy still frightened him. There are tens of thousands of Bloods lying in the huge pit underfoot. Vasiliy quickly left the area. Using the tunnel layout map, Vasiliy soon returned to the surface. Upon coming out, Vasiliy realized that he was in the city's central park. He quickly reported the situation to Justine. Justine was shocked to hear this. After discussions among the group, they decided to carry out a clearance plan for the Central Park the next day at noon. Abraham was translating the Oxydolumen with Quinlan's assistance. The content of the Oxydolumen was quickly deciphered. However, the book did not specifically mention how to kill the Blood ancestor. Abraham felt that the book was hiding something. It was not until he saw an illustration of the sun that Abraham seemed to understand something. After closing the book, he prepared to take Quinlan to a certain place. They arrived at the rooftop, and Abraham exposed that page to the sunlight. Under the sun's rays, a pile of text appeared. The author's purpose was to prevent the Bloods from knowing, as they could never be exposed to sunlight. Abraham began deciphering the content of the book.
Hide the text so the Strigoi could never read it. After being surrounded by an army of thousands, the living plague was contained within a stone sarcophagus lined with an alloy of silver and lead. Tomb for the creature and for the crimson worm within it, trapped for all eternity.
A box.
The box.
Justine immediately arranged for a SEAL team to cooperate with him to carry out the clearing plan. They started the operation as soon as it was daylight. Soon, Vasiliy met with the SEAL team leader, Rogers. Afterward, he took Rogers back to the base to get the silver powder. Meanwhile, Dutch and F were conducting experiments at the base. When F learned that the government planned to clean up the Bloods on a large scale, he also wanted to go to the scene. This would allow for better research. On the other side, Abraham and Quinlan started to worry again. They had found a way to completely eliminate the Bloods, but they were having trouble finding out where the Bloods were hiding. Abraham decided to pay a visit to Palmer. Soon, the two met under a sky bridge. Palmer's organs were slowly failing, so he could only walk with the help of a wheelchair. Abraham said he could provide a method to extract the bloodworm but needed Palmer to reveal the current location of the blood ancestor. In order to prolong his life, Palmer agreed to his request without hesitation. Soon, morning came, and Gus was assigned another task to clean up the Bloods. The prison guards said that if they could complete this mission, everyone would be pardoned. Upon hearing this, everyone stepped forward to select weapons. When they were done, they were herded back into the tunnel. On the other hand, Vasiliy and the SEAL team also began their operation. They were attacked by the Bloods midway, and everyone could only respond in a hurry. In the chaos, one team member was bitten on the neck. Another team member was dragged away by the Bloods. After Vasiliy shot and killed the Bloods, the two quickly ran to save their captured teammate. But on the way, another Bloods appeared. Fortunately, Vasiliy shot in time and saved Roger's life. Then, the two found their teammate ahead. After being exposed to ultraviolet light, he had been invaded by the bloodworm. Regrettably, Rogers had to end his teammate's life. On the other side, the police brought Gus and the others to the tunnel that needed to be cleaned. The police ordered them to enter the tunnel to clean up the Bloods. Gus volunteered after hearing this. The police then asked Gus and another person to take the lead. After entering the tunnel, they soon encountered a Bloods head-on. The police outside heard the commotion and immediately shouted towards Gus and the other person. In a short while, Gus's voice came, indicating that the tunnel had been cleared. The police immediately let the remaining criminals enter the tunnel. Everyone entered the tunnel and was shocked to see a pile of Bloods corpses on the ground. Then, they continued walking deeper and saw a hole dug by a Bloods ahead. The police immediately ordered the woman to crawl into the hole. Disobeying the order would result in being shot on the spot. Seeing that the woman was about to crawl into the cave, Gus and Angel quickly took action and subdued the police. Gus stated that they only wanted to safely leave. However, the police opened fire directly, and Angel immediately returned fire. In this way, 2 police officers were killed on the spot. Killing police officers is a serious crime, so everyone quickly prepared to escape from here.